What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
What did you say, Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio, the weekly show where I talk to the rebels that are shaping youth culture. We find out how they do it, why they do it, and what you can do to get a little piece of the pie for yourself. We're also the only show to bring you new music every week from our friends over at EDM.com. I'm your host, Josh Levine, and this week we have another in our Art Rebels series, Artwork Rebels, in partnership with Guerilla One and my man, Eddie Donaldson. This week, our guest in studio is DEFER. He's a great graffiti artist. He's building an amazing career in the streets and in the galleries. And he kind of talks to us about how he balances the two, how he incorporates some Eastern philosophy in his training in jiu-jitsu, and how it all fits together into a great career and a great life. Some great stories coming up from DEFER right after our EDM.com track of the week.
I'm heaven sent. I'm blessed with the word, my nigga. I feel like reverence. Niggas ain't showing they worth, my nigga. Like where they severance. I'm trying to call me a will. My niggas got words.
Yeah, that was 88 miles per hour with 7, the EDM.com track of the week. If you like that one, get over to EDM.com and check out more new music. And now let's get into the interview with DEFER. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you being here. You know, Eddie always brings the best people.
Cool, appreciate you guys.
I try.
And, I've been, I know your work, but I didn't necessarily associate it with you.
Okay.
But, I love the stuff, and, I've seen it, and kind of took me a while to put all the pieces together. So I'm excited to learn more about you and dig into it.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, how'd you guys meet?
I just knew like mutual friends. I've seen him around through the ages.
Yeah.
He's been around, like especially Casey and them.
Yeah.
He's always been known.
Seventh letter.
Seventh letter. Seventh letters everywhere. So it's kind of like
For sure.
Did we do anything for you on GorillaOne.com back in the day? Did we have any pics up, or do you know?
I don't remember.
Probably not.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I do know that ever since we've been kind of linked up, he's always been there to support. Like he's a sturdy dude you can count on.
Nice.
I'm like, hey, can you come paint this wall? And he's comes in, comes out, gets in, gets out.
That's
Some way.
So we've formulated a pretty tight relationship over the last couple of years.
That's cool. I was trying to think about how we met, and I think it was at your at your shop.
At Oddspot 23.
Yeah, I think some dudes that I was hanging out with
Doing
brought
some
me to
promotions. What was it doing?
there. Yeah, Ron Hill and Gunner.
What was the name of that? On Point. What was their thing?
Sure Shot.
Sure Shot. Yeah.
And
Did you know
I
about?
just knew them. I didn't.
Did you know about Oddspot 23?
I heard the
I had a
name.
hip
don't
hop shop in
remember.
the Valley
Was that
back in
right?
the early '90s. The only one. All the street team dudes used to make the trip to Tarzana.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, let's go make this run, and I was like, what? Why are we going to the Valley?
That's right.
Like that.
Because we were selling tips, markers, books, and weed at the Oddspot 23.
That's a nice name, Odd Spot.
Right.
I like that. Yeah.
You know what's crazy is like when we came up with the name, we were all Casey, we were all going back and forth trying to figure it out. And I'm like, dude, who cares? It's going to be the odd spot on the neighborhood. No one's going to care.
Right.
And Mystic was like, what'd you say? And I go, it's going to be Odd Spot. He goes, that's it. And
Right.
23, because I was 23.
That's hilarious.
And that's where 23 kind of kicked in, obviously, through Jordan. But speaking of Jordans, a man over here making everybody look bad with the DEFER one of ones. But yeah, it was just Oddspot 23 because I didn't really care what it was called. But we carried Con Art, we carried Third Rail, we carried Gypsies and Thieves, and all the other raver wear.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny. I mean, like people think a lot about names, brand names, or whatever, and I'm always like that. It doesn't really matter. Like a name is good because the thing
because
is
of what
good.
you do, and who you are and how you put it down.
Maybe there's some rare exceptions to that, but
Absolutely.
We don't care about Apple because it's called Apple.
Not at all. It could have been orange.
Exactly.
Real shit.
Yeah,
real shit.
For sure.
I mean, listen, as a graffiti artist, I mean, I'm sure DEFER can contest to this. Like, My name is Sync, S-Y-N-C, and I was named that by Rage from TCF and KSN because I was always on time.
Yeah.
If I was picking you up at 10 o'clock, I'm out there at 10:52 or 9:52 honking the horn going, hurry the fuck up, you know?
Yeah.
And we were digging through CDs, and he found the Synchronicity album by the Police. So for the graffiti names, it was really important that it matched who you were as a person, right? Not necessarily.
My case kind of sort of not really because like DEFER, I mean, it goes so way back as to like, you know, use those catchwords, fresh, def, and it was, you know, no one talks like that no more.
Yeah.
But you know, like that was when graffiti was basically in its infant stages.
Yeah.
So my first name was actually Chaos with a K-A-O-S, but I bit that from a hip hop book called, I think it was called Hip Hop, I think, and they showed Phase 2's evolution of graffiti.
Yeah.
Started with like a throwy, and it just evolved, and then in the typeface it was saying something about Phase 2 and chaos, and I thought chaos was the craziest name because it means, you know, chaotic, but chaos spelled, you know, properly is C-H-A-O-S. So I always used to say when I was a little kid, chaos. It's not chaos, but when I saw it with the K, I was like, that's vicious.
So you wrote K-O-A-S?
K-A-O-S, but I straight up bit it, and I put 2, so I was like, I'm number 2, you know what I mean? So I didn't, you know.
Yo, you know Muggs is just the record he just dropped was called Chaos.
Yeah.
With Homeboy from New York, I believe.
Oh, Rock Marciano?
Yeah, I believe it was, and Sponto did the font for it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so then, you know, Def, you know, we'd ask, does anybody else have Def? And like, you know, it was kind of, for me, it was a hard name to write because it was so short, you know. And the only letter I liked in it was the E, really. And the F looks kind of like an E without the, you know, the bottom part. So basically, people were adding ERs, so it became DEFER. And then, I mean, I really wanted to change my name because that word didn't have any more significance, you know, and I did it, and I was such a young kid, right? So you're kind of growing up, and it's like, you know, everybody had these fresh names, you know, like Scheme, Scene, you know, Zephyr, you know, things that were very significant. So the name actually has nothing to do with my personality or nothing.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, you are deafer than the rest, right?
Well, quite possibly not. I don't know. But,
No, but it's funny. I mean, that stuff is arbitrary.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, using the Apple thing, when you're coming up with a brand name, right, you go through all this legal process to figure that out and make sure nobody else is using it.
Yeah.
When you're doing that in the streets, it's a whole different process, right? And you know,
you go through other stages or other steps to make sure no one else is using it. You don't need an attorney.
But you know, now that it's become this global thing, and I know we were talking about before about the neighborhood, whatever. Like, there's obviously, I don't know if there's another DEFER, but there's people around the world that have the same names.
Yeah.
That just come from different hoods or
absolutely.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you used to battle for names.
Yeah.
I think Ewok battled another Ewok for the name or whatever.
I'm sure there's all that. So, yeah, that's crazy. Well, let's talk about how you got started. I'd love to know.
Well, actually, you know, like as a kid, I grew up in Boyle Heights, right? So just
My
being.
dad grew up in Boyle Heights.
Okay, nice. Yeah, just being there. Obviously, back then there was a lot of cultural murals. Like, you know, they had like, you know, cultural icons. They were kind of socio-political too. You see like different revolutionary figures like Pancho Villa, Zapata. They'd be infused in these murals. Also, some of them were very mysterious. You know, some of the imagery was kind of, I guess, mysterious to say the least. You know what I mean? And as a kid, I saw these murals, and I was like, wow, because I used to draw as a kid. You know, I was gifted with that, you know, drawing and stuff. So I did that since I was a little kid. But so I had a natural inclination to look at art, even though I didn't understand it. I saw it, so I was like, wow, what is this? And then, anyways, after that, then there wasn't really. On the West Coast at that time, this is the early 80s, there wasn't, you know, hardly any kind of, anything from the East Coast.
Right.
And then, but I used to see a lot of, you know, the neighborhood placazos, the neighborhoods that used to write on walls, basically marking off territories.
Sure.
And, you know, there was always a very deep mystique about that in terms of danger and, don't go out at night, these guys are here, and that's their wall, that's, you know, their block. But I remember as a little kid, I didn't really see too much of that. You know, I lived in Boyle Heights, but you didn't see it it wasn't as prevalent, I guess. And I guess it was more I guess maybe incognito and not as overt as
And more
it
hidden
became.
spots rather than like
Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't know to look
going
for
top to bottom on
Yeah.
fucking the liquor store down the block.
it. Sure.
So with that, I was definitely had those early impressions of art, and then obviously as a little kid, breakdancing came in, pretty much everybody,
Everywhere.
every, kid was trying to breakdance or
Yeah.
breakdance. I mean, it reached all cultural,
Yeah.
racial groups, and so obviously I did that. This is before the internet, so the only time we got a glimpse of like breakdance is if it came out in a movie.
Right.
It
Flash
could've-
dance.
Yeah, like a cheesy movie, like
Yeah.
like a cheesy
Breaking.
movie, like Flash Breaking.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Buffalo Gals was one of the first videos I saw, and I saw Graffiti, and you saw this quick flash, and those video shows came on like at midnight, so I have to sneak out,
That's right.
watch it late at night, and it's not like we have YouTube now.
Yeah.
It's basically you caught that one little glimpse, and that's all you got,
Mm-hmm.
and. I guess it was. I'm going to say it was 19. I know I made a mistake and said it was 82, but I think it was 83 actually when Star Wars got released to the public. It was on channel 28 UHF in LA. You had the dial TV, and it was on UHF, so it was a little bit grainy. And I basically watched it to watch the breakdancing because my friends were they're gonna have breakdancing on there, but it ended up being about graffiti. But I kind of was gravitated towards that, and from there I immediately took action. I started drawing, just mimicking what I saw, kind of like letters, bubble letters, and these characters with goggles, ski goggles and
Yeah,
stuff.
no doubt. The old B-boys.
Yeah, the old B-boys, and from there I pretty fast I went out to the freeway right there in Boyle Heights, and I did a piece there, my first
that right?
piece. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was horrible, but I did it. Yeah,
Do you remember that feeling of getting up for the first time?
yeah. It was basically to me it was a nightmare because I didn't know what to do, so I did the outline first, and I filled in the outline, and I did this gradation, and
Sure.
and it was the craziest experience because I did during the day actually, because there was like brush kind of,
Yeah.
and I guess back in those days there was I guess maybe at night there was a lot of homeless people there.
Right.
I mean they had like magazines, and just it was just like a junkyard back there. But I smelled the worst smell. It was like, and I looked, and it was like a dead dog and maggots. That was like the most horrific
Yeah.
scene.
Wow.
As a little kid seeing, I was just like, whoa, this is not good.
That's a big night.
And I it was actually during the day.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but actually kind of turned into the night because I went back a couple times to fix it up, and I could vaguely remember what it looked like because I didn't take a picture of it or anything. But
Yeah.
then I was tagging around. I got a Magnum, one of those Magnum 44s, remember, from
Yeah.
Standard Brands.
Sure.
Like I was tagging, so
Yeah.
did this all on my own. Didn't have a crew. I was just doing it, by myself. And
Yeah.
basically, graffiti back then, everything was illegal. There was nothing. I mean, we're so whack. Who would want us to paint, anything
no
on there?
doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
but
was
that was,
so
it was all about
infantile.
vandalizing though
I
back
don't know,
in the
man.
day too.
We didn't have a critical eye,
Yeah.
from the fan side, from the culture side,
Yeah.
right? No one's going like, I mean, yeah, some things are better than others,
Yeah.
but I think, it's like you said, all of a sudden, breakdancing took over everything. All of a sudden, hip hop took over everything, and for us, we just wanted all of it. I
Yeah.
just read this book about MTV, and they were talking about how MTV got started, right? And it was like, yeah, before that there was videos, but you had to watch them late at night, or you had to find them or whatever. And then all of a sudden, and then people were like, yeah, this is what we want. Just give us as much of it as we can get.
Yeah, I mean, the music played a big role too.
Yeah.
I mean, just all the, everything that was going down back then, the music, the dance, the break dancing,
Yeah.
that was like just the soundtrack to everything.
Yeah.
But, graffiti
What
was
was-
always the
Was there a
black sheep.
record? Was there a record that you remember that was like big for you early on?
In terms of hip hop, like basically,
whatever.
Jeez, man, I mean, I could just remember, every song that came out, we waited for it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I remember it was just trippy. You go to school, girls were wearing their pants inside out, the Levi's, and like it was Roxanne. That was a little thing. And I'm just saying that's just one part of
Yeah,
it
for
where it was
sure.
just like everything, Planet Rock,
Yeah.
Jam on It, Nucleus,
Yeah. Do you remember what you were listening to before hip hop?
I used to listen to a lot of punk rock.
Okay.
Yeah, I used
Yeah,
to
me
love
too.
punk rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still
What
do
was the
love
first
punk
record
rock.
you ever purchased by vinyl?
Oh, jeez, man, you're going way back.
Mine was
First big-
fucking Captain and Tennille,
Oh shit.
Whoa.
and then the Pat Benatar,
Damn.
and
you-
Olivia Newton-John. Straight up, dead serious.
Dude, you just dropped it on us.
I'm being real with you. That's the first 3 records I ever bought, bro. Then it was like AC/DC, fucking.
Okay.
Then it went to GBH and like, you know, fucking like
Wow.
punk rock. I evolved really quick.
Yeah.
I went to private school, so I was lucky to have kids who had something, so I could go over their crib and like steal styles and ideas and shit,
That's funny.
and steal records. Too.
Sure.
Hopefully none of you were listening.
Yeah, I think some of the first vinyl I can't remember what I actually bought because I know my parents probably got me some stuff, but I remember getting a lot of punk rock stuff,
Yeah.
the little 45s,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think a lot of it maybe because like, a couple of my cousins were punk rockers, so, at that
Sure.
age you're
Yeah, you pick it up
impressionable.
from-
You're just like,
yeah.
all right, well, is this what it is? And I'll listen to it, but I would buy like punk rock, like Black Flag when they first started, Fear,
Yeah.
I Love Living in the City.
Uh-huh.
I forgot what was that album called? I forgot.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
So I didn't discover punk rock until high school.
Yeah.
But like, my neighborhood, it was all R&B, soul,
Oh, okay.
and then I remember though in the 5th grade, like all of a sudden, the kids that I went to school with that like their big brothers were cholos
Yeah.
and and they all of a sudden started listening to heavy metal.
Oh.
It was like one year, it was like 1980.
Yeah.
I don't know what the record was that like turned everybody, but and they were getting it from their older brothers. That all of a sudden it was like Judas Priest,
Yeah, Molly
early
Hatchet. Fool.
Metallica.
What about Molly Hatchet?
I mean,
That's not really
that's
metal.
another generation, dude.
Yeah, same time, kind of.
That's like that was more like Southern rock.
It really
but I mean,
was.
it all kind of blended together.
Yeah, at
but like
that
Black
time.
Sabbath, like all these. So it was funny, all these dudes that were into like oldies and all the lowrider stuff, and then all of a sudden, heavy metal.
Well, it's kind of the same now, though, right? Like, there's a huge Latin
Yeah.
following for metal and
sure.
for Southern rock. It's
Yeah.
like I go to some of these festivals and it's more Latin people than there are fucking white boys out there banging their head.
I mean, so much of that is regional, right? Like you go to a Morrissey show here,
Yeah,
and it's very Latin,
yeah,
right?
Oh, he's big in Mexico, right?
Yeah,
Morrissey,
for sure.
Yeah.
But you go around the country, and the Morrissey
It's
show doesn't
different.
look like that. It's all white
Yeah.
kids.
it's different.
So yeah, we have all these regional differences. Anyway, that's all crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. What about your first album?
My first album, well, the first vinyl I bought was Smokey Robinson.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's blacker than me, bro. He
and
is. He is definitely blacker than
And then
me.
my first 12-inch was Double Dutch Bus.
I don't remember
yeah,
my
that's-
first 12-inch. I don't think I ever bought a 12-inch. I'll be honest.
Is
with
that
you.
right?
Well, actually, that's not true because the songs you mentioned only came in 12-inch,
Yeah.
like the Jam on it. There
Yeah,
was no
yeah, it
LP
was-
for
Oh,
those.
no, not
So
really.
you're right.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't understand the difference between a 12-inch and an LP because I was
Right.
just buying this piece of vinyl to play.
For sure.
Not until I came out here did I realize that this is a single and
Right.
it's a,
Yeah.
So I don't know
Yeah,
what
I mean,
mine was.
that doesn't matter when you're a little kid, right? It's just a
Yeah,
record.
I remember trying to scratch for the first time on my fucking, drop down turntable.
Me too, and I didn't understand how it worked, so I
Yeah.
was trying to scratch on the needle,
Yeah,
not on the record.
yeah, no doubt.
And I fucked up the needle
Yeah,
and like
I think I fucked
then I
up my
figured
mom's
it
needle
out.
too. That's funny.
little by little.
I was in Kentucky, so when breaking came out, and I didn't have the exposure you guys had. We used to get tapes from New York brought down to kids
Yeah.
who would come and visit, but we didn't really have the exposure. So my breaking and art and graffiti, we used to pause breaking the movie on where the piece was, and then we would take the paper on the television and trace it,
Oh wow.
and then that would be like the thing,
Yeah.
And I didn't even try to draw it.
I mean, that's creative,
And then
bro.
we'd do the
That's
same
like
with the moves on the
figuring
breaking
shit
side.
out.
We'd be like, pause it,
Yeah.
and then we'd try to do it, and then rewind and pause it.
Yeah.
We didn't have as much as you guys did. We weren't as lucky.
No, I get it.
Super biting.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's what it takes, right? Is to like get to that point where you can develop your own thing, right? You got to kind of figure it out as you go.
I think visual art back then had a big influence because, you looked at the record album covers, there are these big things. I remember Wild Style, or remember the Wild Style?
Yeah, Doze was on that cover, right?
Yeah, that was, that
Dondi
piece
and
right
all
there
those
was
fools.
just like epic. I actually mimicked that in the back of my garage.
Oh, really?
Back in the day.
Yeah, I think I
did this.
tried to come off on that too,
Yeah.
because that was like that was the most colorful, memorable
Yeah.
piece for everybody, was that Wild Style shit.
I gave up. Like, I just wasn't, we used to just write and sit in class, write our names or alphabets, just, and then I was like, I'm just not that good. I'm gonna give up.
Yeah.
So when did you, at what point did you start thinking about art as a career?
Art's the craziest thing because I think it's like, it's consistently inconsistent. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, it's like, I heard that from my friend Greg B.
That's a great
He
thing
says
to say.
that because it is, you do one thing and you don't know where the next thing is going, and it's very difficult career choice.
Was there a point where you're like, I'm gonna go do this for a living?
There always, sometimes I think there never is a point of that because it's like,
that right?
especially with like it seems like, I grow old, but I don't grow up. I'm still doing what I did when I was a kid,
Sure.
and I'm still that DEFER. It's like some things never changed,
Yeah.
but and I still have that graffiti writer's mentality where it's like sometimes business goes out the window in terms of if I'm gonna hit a wall, I'm gonna hit a wall.
Yeah.
And that's that. I don't care about what the galleries think or what, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just the habitual being everywhere, ubiquitous, and that's one thing that never goes away from me. And it's that drive to kind of just infiltrate all levels of society. And
Yes, like the Beverly Hills spot, our art life.
yeah.
At the end of our show, Retna and DEFER went out and did a whole big thing
Oh, really?
on the wall. Yeah, it lived for like 2 weeks too.
That's cool. So
That
is
was
that?
fun,
But
right?
you've done really
Yeah.
well in the galleries as well.
Yeah, I've done pretty good.
So
Yeah.
how do you balance those two things of being out in the streets and being in the galleries? Like, do they work together? Do they?
They
work
have
against each other?
Yeah, I guess at one point maybe they wouldn't have worked together, but now it's now there's such a high flow of information. We have so much information at the palm of our hands that,
Sure.
you do one piece, people forget about where's your next post. They want this fresh feed of stuff,
Yeah.
People don't go check your website anymore because you got
Right.
maybe 15 images and you have to, they want that instantaneous, what's the next tweet, what's the next this, and
Yeah.
and it's constantly, as the generations come up, they want more information.
Sure.
So yeah, nobody's reading the newspaper anymore. They're
Right.
just, everybody has this, their own world of their own music on
Yeah.
their playlist, their own websites that they visit, their Instagram pages that they follow, and with that being said, I think in order for galleries and things like that to stay, relevant and up to date, they have to feed more of the beast. And
Sure.
a guy like me would come in. I could do both. I could juggle both worlds. Be aggressive like a graffiti writer, but
Yeah.
also keep a steady studio practice at the same time.
So how does the approach change? I read something you said that I thought was so smart that I had never thought of. That when you're painting canvas, you don't have, because there's no time pressure,
Yeah.
right? Because you're not worried about getting caught,
Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
so you can take your time, whatever. So how does it change your process if you're gonna make something for a wall versus a gallery?
Yeah, there's big differences. A canvas is in a controlled setting in terms of you put your music on. You don't have to deal with the public. Only who you let into your domain.
Right.
And it could you could walk away at any time. To me, I think there's always some sort of time, frame that you have to finish things at because you want to keep it flowing.
Sure.
But obviously, it's not like being on the streets. If you're doing
Right, right, right.
something, yeah, it depends. If you're doing something illegal, you got to be in and out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
You have to be. I think always on the street has to be time efficient because you're dealing with if they're shutting down a block for you to do a big commission,
Right.
there's time restraint. They
Yeah, of
can't
course.
just stop the world for,
Right.
because there's traffic,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, you can't go, I'm going to come back tomorrow and finish it.
yeah, pedestrians.
Right.
A lot of times they do stuff for corporate, entities, and it's an office space where they have, they have board meetings,
Yeah.
they have workspaces, and you got to be in and out,
Yeah.
and there's always those. But that's where the graffiti aspect comes. I attack it like a military operation. Just go in,
Is that right?
and go,
Yeah.
and and then like I said, it's there's a lot of like variables on the street too, because I think the last one I did out there, we took a hike, we walked miles up to this thing in Hawaii, and we did a military bunker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, me and Esteban Oreo and his wife, we took a hike up there. My friend Sean and Nick, we went up there, took paint,
That's great.
and we went crazy up there. But that was just for
For fun.
for fun. Yeah,
Get your head right
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
A little bit
So
of
when you do
therapy.
stuff like that, how much do you have a plan of what you're going to paint before you get there?
There's absolutely no plan on that.
No plan.
Yeah, no plan.
Freestyle.
Because it's just freestyle. Because it's more, I would take a more, maybe an Eastern approach of emptying your mind,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like, okay, I gotta have a sketch. I have to do this color first. It's more, and there's sometimes I just work with crude materials. It could be just black and white,
Yeah.
one brush, and that's where the magic comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
we've done a couple commercial projects lately, and there's been like zero preparation at walking into it. Like, look at the building,
Yeah.
show up in the morning, and dude's done 3 hours later with a 2-story, $4 million house, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going through in his head, but
Right.
we've had no conversations about colors. He's like, what do
Yeah.
you think about gray? All right, cool, I'll see you at 9. And then I get there at 10:30 and he's halfway finished. I mean, that's
Wow.
literally what happened on the
Yeah.
2 jobs ago.
Wow.
And it's interesting because a lot of other people spend it's like the name thing. You spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out what you're going to do. And
Right.
then you set yourself up for disappointment to a certain extent because it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to.
Sure. Yeah.
So I like that, the Eastern approach to emptying your mind before you walk into the,
So
I'm a cop that.
teach me and Eddie how to do that.
Yeah, no doubt.
How do you empty your mind?
Well, I mean, I guess also too, having supreme confidence in your skills.
Sure.
In your skill set and knowing what you're going to do. Also, there's a lot of preparation. You know what I mean? Like I read that book Blink.
Yeah.
By Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Love
it was just talking about like your brain has things figured out before you think it does.
Right.
And your hesitation just makes the
And you
process
screw it
harder.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was part of my enlightenment in terms of like I sold a couple works to an East Coaster, this guy Tommy Marin, and he's like buying my neighborhood writing, but I would get kind of more like nervous when I was doing those early canvases because I would want everything symmetrical.
Sure.
And it would never turn out right when I would try to do grids because I'm horrible at math and all that stuff. And then when I read that book, I said, let me try just going for it without even thinking about it. And sure enough, I hit it on
Yeah.
the mark. And
That's cool.
since then, I was like, man, that thing works. And
Yeah.
I put it to the test, and for me, it works.
I love that.
I mean, I have to have supreme confidence, but I go in there and just bam.
Sure.
And then with
So when you're doing that, does the voice come up to like question what you're doing?
always,
Yeah.
always, because
And then what do you do?
I remember, even starting graffiti, I remember like I'd be so nervous because it was like you wanted that can control, and you want the slick lines and the very tight, everything clean back
Yeah.
then. It was all about can control.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, manipulating the can and to get it to paint straight. And I remember Bruce Lee used to say, ease the burden of the mind, because you're like you're stressing on like I got to get this straight, and then that's actually making you more nervous because you're putting so much emphasis on that without just flowing and having confidence in yourself. And when you could shed, ease the burden of the mind, that's when I think you could flow.
Oh, that's big.
That flow state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right that you also do martial arts?
Yeah. Do jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah, Brazilian Gracie jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How does that, do you think that has an impact on your art, your work?
Oh, definitely, because I haven't trained in a while just because of my scheduling, and it's kind of hard to just it's not like a 24 fitness where you can just jump in, you finish a job at 12 and, cover with paint and roll.
Right.
It's, so I haven't been training as much, but it definitely has, you push yourself to the limit, in terms of physicality, and it's also you have a live opponent coming at you, so you can't
Right.
you can't be passive, and you have to be aware, and if you're not aware, if you're tired or whatever, you're
Yeah.
gonna pay for it, right?
I mean, talk about things not going according to plan. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
That dude's got his plan.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So you basically have to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So, I'm able to push the envelope with. I think that helps me mentally push the envelope on the art, where I'm like,
I'm
well,
sure.
you're pushing physically, and pushing your spirit and your mind, and then you transfer that into art, and then it's like this is a walk in the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I know you were saying earlier you teach. You work with students.
Yeah, that was a few years ago, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for artists, for anybody that's starting out today in this career, what would you tell them not to do? The mistakes you made early on.
Well, I think every artist, you choose to be in that 2% of the population, 2.5% of the population that chooses to be an entrepreneur, going your own route, where you're making something, whether it's a business, an art career, you want to be an NBA player, whatever, something where you got to forego on your own.
Sure.
You have to compete with the whole world, everything that's out there. If you're going to be a tattoo artist, why are they going to pick you over this person? Or
Right.
you have to become supremely the best at what you do. So that's the hard part, right? You got this. And now it's more global because you could get posts from all over the world.
Right.
You can see art from all over the
Yeah,
world.
sure.
So it's not about being king of LA or king of New York or whatever. It's about this global people doing lettering all over the world. This movement's big. So in order to do that, you have to compete with everybody, and it's hard, man, because to stay on top of things, and I always see it as like a wheelbarrow. It doesn't go anywhere unless you push it, and you got to push the envelope all the time.
That's great.
And some people get into art like, I want to make money. You're getting into it for the wrong reasons, because when that money doesn't come in, there's no passion. Then, no money, I'm not going to paint.
Right.
Like maybe a fighter is going to be like, well, I'll only train when I have a fight coming.
Right.
But the martial artist trains every day because he wants to be supremely greatest
all
at
you
his
can be and
craft.
shit. That's a good way to look at things.
Well, ultimately, you're competing with yourself, right?
Yeah, and then we're our own worst enemies. You know what I mean? And that's in that sense, also you got to forget about everybody else, because at the end of the day, you got to wake up and push yourself to motivate yourself to make something happen.
That's
especially when nothing's happening. Because once you finish a show, people are asking, what's next?
What's next?
Of
course.
I just finished that like a day ago. Like,
Tired.
when's this happening, or when's this happening, or this and that. And it just that's what I mean. It's an ongoing process that it's you don't think about, like, there's no stability in terms of, okay, well, practicality where I'll be a plumber because there's water everywhere,
Right.
but I'll slave for 5 days and I'll have 2 days off, and maybe a couple, but
Take a note from Sugar Free. Stay ready so you don't got to get ready.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's real wisdom.
Adrian posted that yesterday, and I listened to
I saw
like 5 songs in the morning. But that's the one I always stick with, is stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Yeah,
that's the mind of, that's how Homeboy is. He's like, he's always ready, no matter what. And I mean, we all have our times where we need to duck out, right?
Sure, of course. But that's
if
part of it
your
too,
mind
right?
is prepared and you have that confidence level, like, whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do it. You stay ready.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta get ready.
Yeah.
that's
It's the
pretty much
ultimate state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about working with brands? I want to ask both of you, because I know I know you talked about doing art for, a commission for a brand or whatever. What do you want those people to know about, like, what makes that kind of partnership successful?
I think it's the fit. You know what I mean? The fit and the project, and like I don't, I really don't plan anything anymore. I do it. I call it. I mean, people are manifesting or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I kind of I have moments where I think certain things are meant to be, because you have no control who's going to hire you, who's going to call you.
Right.
You got to do the work, and then and I don't like walk around hustling or
Sure.
like, oh, check my portfolio. Oh, this guy's from here. Like, show him your work. No,
Yeah.
I do the work and see. I guess I use the work as a magnet in terms of what comes out of this work is how is it going to get to me. And there's a lot of time of solitude in there, but with brands, I mean, I've never approached a brand in terms of like, oh, you know what, I'd really like to work with you guys, or because people ask me like online and stuff like, oh, how do you approach them to work? I go, oh, I don't do that, so it's different,
I mean, I almost think, I don't know, Eddie might disagree with me, but I almost think like no one should approach anybody.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
The moment you're asking for work, they don't want to fuck with you.
Yeah,
right? Like everybody wants what they can have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do disagree. I mean,
I know because you know.
Well, that's my hustle. I'm trying to partner people, and I think one thing I've been lucky or privileged to do is build bridges between unlikely people that would not necessarily fit or work together.
For sure.
Whether it be two artists or it be a company with an artist. Sometimes companies don't know what they need because they sit in their little office and they don't know what we're doing.
Yeah,
and
they don't even know what's the options.
Sometimes artists don't see it because they're artists and they need to be artists. Right. So sometimes there is a time where you do need to approach a company and say, look, this is and you Scion, for instance, let's talk about it. I'm sure there's many times we tried to tell Jerry shit that she wasn't really trying to hear, but it would have been a great move for them. So
for sure. I mean, I guess what I'm saying, and maybe that's like why there's a role for people like us, right? Because it's different than you going out and trying to hustle up some, hire me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think the way that I approach those conversations is like, if I'm talking to a brand, it's like, tell me what problem you're trying to solve. Mm-hmm. And I'll see if I can offer up some suggestions. Right. And so, maybe it's like, hey, you haven't thought about this, but there's this group of people over here that you should be paying attention to, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So I guess I don't disagree.
No,
you're right. Alex
somewhere in between.
Going out trying to.
No, yeah, I'm just saying my part.
People on his behalf or artists in that situation's behalf. Yeah. Plugging, kind of putting 1 and 2 together and making 3.
But it's a delicate balance. I mean, there are definitely people that are very successful because they just like won't take no for an answer. And they, I had a guy once tell me I'd rather be known for being annoying than for being broke.
Yeah.
And like that worked for him.
I like that.
And that's probably a little bit more your style. Like me, if I feel like I'm being annoying or like it's gonna hold me back.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, perfect case and example. A friend of mine, Todd Boo, I grew up with. Went to private school, St. Francis in Louisville. He's a very successful car dealer, owns Indigo Auto Group, Rolls Royce, Maserati, Lamborghini, Rancho Mirage, Houston, now open in Palm Springs, Porsche. And I've been on him, dog. I'm hitting him continuously. We're having coffee on Tuesday next week, but he said, thank you for continuing to get at me because I'm very, very busy.
Right.
So there is
for sure.
Some situations where hitting the gas is great.
Right.
And there's some situations where you become like a noise that you just turn off and they don't even see the text anymore.
That's right.
Or the emails because it's too consistent.
Yeah.
Just got to know the person you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Or take a shot.
I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier, how, hip hop and graffiti and this whole culture used to be this thing that, people didn't know about. It wasn't everywhere, right? And so how has all that, how does that change your process now that we're in this world where, we see, the whole world sees all this stuff on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, as a kid, it'd be unimaginable because, now they make, spray paint for graffiti for that specific purpose.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's nuts. I mean,
people buy it and don't steal it.
The tips, it's all so simple now.
You order it online, you'll go steal it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I would never, I mean, just because we came from that state where it was just like, in the prehistoric times, I guess, the genesis of LA graffiti.
For sure.
Where, and to see how it evolved globally and how they just, you get people in Europe and they're just so dedicated, or Asia, they're so dedicated to their craft where they'll, they'll do, whatever it takes to be the best and they just, the scene is just this big global entity now, and it's, I guess right now it's, you know, with the internet and all these social media channels, it's more united than ever because you can see it, you know, it's all at the palm of your hand, you know, because back in the day, you know, there's a piece behind this, you have to get off the 31 bus on this street, you got to jump 2 fences, go to this alley, there's a blue junked up car here.
Or on Saturday,
you know,
it's
right?
like, let's go to the yards and we go to Belmont and we see who painted, or who
Right.
was painting, we go to Levitt's,
For
we
sure.
go to Motor,
Yep.
we
Yeah.
go to the Valley, there was this Reseda yard. It's definitely completely different. That's one of the holes we tried to fill with Guerilla One is we had a train section and we would put up 20 pictures of trains. And we had a catch-all section, which were throw-ups, and then we had a piece section. It is definitely more united than it's ever been because you can see styles and bite styles and, you know.
Sure.
Back then was crazy too because every time you went out, someone did something new.
Yeah.
For us in LA, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, you know what I mean? And that was what was kind of exciting. And it was more of a trek. You had to jump on a RTD bus, now known as Metro, whatever. It was rough. We called it rough, tough, and dangerous back in the day. But it was like you had to jump on an RTD bus. You know, you caught a couple spots in the bus, get off, and then,
Subscribes.
you know, you had to walk a lot. So, you know, now, I mean, you know, people, you know, before you had to fight people in person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, what's up? What did you say?
Right.
And then now people are just in their home just sending mad face emojis out, you know, bang, bang, you're
Insta
gone.
banging.
You know, I'm going to get you.
Insta
And he's the only
banging.
one left still punching people.
No, I haven't punched him in a long time.
But, you know, back then it was more of a, I could say it's an adventure.
Yeah.
But I also accept the world that, you know, the way it is, man. If this is out, you know, this internet stuff, you know, I don't want to be complaining about everything because it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty soon there's not going to be it's probably going to be a hologram, right?
Sure.
And you're just going to talk, you know.
One thing I miss is battles, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, when there was a UTI TCF battle at Belmont, everyone was coming down. Everyone would come to see what was going on. Like that, you know, the what you write and the going over each other, like that was cool too. But the battles were like, that was the biggest of the big. Like there was all the little beasts on the street, like, oh yeah, I fought homeboy at 7-Eleven. All that was fun. But the battles were like, and when you won or when you lost, it was like head down.
Right.
Fucking, you just lost, you know, like those were the days. And the bigger dudes got to judge because they have more credit than you.
Yeah, sure.
The hierarchy or the pecking order process to me that's missing is kind of a bummer to me because now it's like you become a street artist and you make more money than somebody. You're like the pecking order is based on finances versus how up you are, how hard you are, how willing to fight you are, how many buses you'll get on. Like it was just all built very, very different.
Sure.
You know?
Do you
And I'm
still
not complaining, but you know.
Do you still see elements of that competitive spirit in art?
I mean, you're doing. It's kind of hard to say because I mean you see so much art online now. I mean, like I said, look, with this flow of information, it's just like. And I think back then, I think the graffiti world was you know it was more of a subculture in terms of like it was underground, and we you know we heard of each other, we knew who each other were, and if not, you know, we run into each other here and there. But it was a very closed off society, not really open to the public at the time, because you know you even kept it like it was part of being like a James Bond type character, you know. You know, I wonder who wrote that. You're the one that did it, but you're just saying, I wonder who did that, you know. So
that's cool.
It was more like being now it's everybody posts everything, you know. They know what you're eating for dinner, they know when you're stepping out of your car, they know you're checking in this place and whatnot, and
you can't be mysterious anymore.
Yeah, there's no more you know, being mysterious, and it's just kind of everything's out there. And you know, but back then it was like Eddie said, it was like, you know, when like Slick and Hex battled, right? That was like a
Levitt's monumental, dude. It was the biggest battle I probably ever went to. Like the news crews, it was like, and we talked about that with Slick. Like I just posted Hex's painting of Freddy Krueger pinning Slick down 2 days ago. Yeah. And it's like that shit was like to me that was like the World Series, you know, of what we did. Yeah. And I almost fought. Well, I don't want to say who it was, but there was a really big dude that had a special publication that was around that talked shit to me, and I tried to fight him because I didn't know who he was, and everyone's like, "That's that dude." It was like you never knew who you were. We're all walking around trying to catch your sleeve or your under your hat. It was so
figure out who's who.
It was like one of the World Series, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, battles were epic. You know,
Yeah.
I think that was very, I guess, hip hop ish before. You know, like
sure.
you know, even with the music, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it was battles.
battles.
It was all battles.
You know what I think we should bring back, and I've been telling Trey that. Big shout out to Trey to Don. We call him Tretna,
Right.
or Treyway, or Trayvon for Esteban. But I want to see zines come back, like Can Control. You know,
Yeah.
I used to fiend to get to Can Control, see if our crew was up in it, and you know, I think that
There
piece
is
of
a
paper-
little resurgence of zines. I don't know if it's necessarily within graffiti, but there's starting to be a little bit of that.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
it. You know, Dave Schubert from San Francisco.
Yeah,
I showed
yeah.
him that last night. He's talking about doing another one. I saw it on IG. But I think maybe I want to do something with Trey, like, you know, let him show his life with us.
Yeah.
You know, because he has a bird's eye perspective on what
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going through. Like, he kicks it with us eating fucking Korean barbecue and shit, not just,
Right.
you know, out at the wall. Or
Right.
IG specific shit, right?
Yeah.
But I think maybe I'll do one for Guerilla One just for the hell of it, because that I still
Right.
have all my can controls.
Yeah.
You know, like I
Yeah,
still,
yeah.
these fuckers are 20 years old. They're falling
sure.
apart and shit, but I still have them.
Yeah.
And I think that may show this younger generation more of an appreciation to actually be able to physically touch it versus swipe
doubt.
past it and then never look at it again after a week.
Yeah.
You know, be able to sit around and kind of really study it. You know, because that's what we used to do. Can Control is like a fucking workbook.
For sure.
Basically.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
hand styles, for colors, for fill ideas. Like,
Right.
I used to be like, wow, I wish I could do that. You know, but now it's like pretty colors and keep it moving.
Right. Yeah, but that tangible piece, I think, is still
Yeah.
really, and you see it, you know.
Now it's books.
It is, but even like, you know, any boutique you walk into, or like boutique hotel, they have a little magazine that they've created, right? And you know, for their
Yeah, to curate their
customers.
little lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, you know, the Hundreds had a magazine, you know, Staple, you know, he's doing read pages, like Hype Beast magazine, like all those, you know, there's that element to that just really niche, you know, narrow interest. You want to
Yeah.
hold it and collect it, and, you know, that's part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard too, because I think people are so like anxious to post things and stuff like
course.
that and get instantaneous responses that it's like yeah, the element of surprise is never there. Like
Right.
you know, like what Eddie said, you waited for the next one. Now I wonder what's coming
Yeah,
out
yeah,
the
for
next
sure.
issue of Big Time or
That's
Can
not cracking
Control. And
anymore.
No.
there's no more element of surprise. People are showing you like works in progress. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? Like
Yeah, definitely.
you know,
The other
and-
day he was painting a building over there by Earth in WeHo, and he goes, "No stories. We're gonna only post the final deal."
Yeah.
And I thought about that, like, damn, if we all like to the minute we're posting what
Right.
the fuck we do.
Yeah,
like,
of
I've already
course.
posted 3 shots of right now.
Of course.
So like, hopefully they'll anticipate this wonderful interview. But yeah,
No, I get it.
if we would slow down a little bit, maybe we'd show some appreciation. To
It's a balance, you know, because the world's, we're not all going to slow down.
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
know what I mean? I want to talk about the lettering style. I've seen you talking about like exploding the letter form,
yeah.
and so how does that, like, when I look at your art, like I have like conflicting emotions
Yeah.
of like, on one side it feels chaotic, and on the
Yeah.
other side it feels very calming and peaceful.
Yeah.
Right, and like, especially when it's the whole wall.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
what-
I guess. Oh,
yeah,
well,
just
go
talk
ahead.
about that. Talk about like transforming this alphabet into.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know,
So-
obviously, like you know, growing up, I mean, like, you know, my dad was an architect, so he used to do these like blueprints. I see the writing was just immaculate, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, they actually taught you cursive in school,
Right.
you know, so it was hands-on. You do these lines, and if you did bad, you'd roll standards, right? So
Sure.
everything was writing. The first thing you learn in school is to write your name. Then you know it's communication, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then basically, so you know, the alphabet and signature is part of what we all do. You know, the pen is mightier than the sword, they say,
Sure.
right? So so basically, every culture has language, communication. Then it was started illustrative, then structured language, alphabets, putting words, sentences, phrases together. So basically, you know, I'm doing what everybody else did, but then, you know, actually, you know, with graffiti, you have like stages of the throw ups, the tag, the wild style, and then it could, wild style is very complex. It could be, but it's still, you keep the letter structure intact in terms of you don't, stray from it. Is still an A, but they're gonna,
but it's always an A.
It's gonna be they're gonna distort parts, add arrows, spades, this, that, break offs. So it could be very complex to where it's not legible, but the letter is intact in there, and so I saw language as, okay, I did the structured letters, the placazos, and I did that, and then I also thought, wow, one day I just let my mind free and just it's almost like automatic painting, and I let it go, gestural abstract, and some of it's structured, some of it's not structured, some of it says things, so it's very random. The process of it is so random for me that I call it, spiritual language, where it's coming from the spirit. It's like speaking in tongues, right? It's like Babel, right? So it's another spiritual form of communication, and even to me, I don't know what it means. I'm like, it's like, what does that mean? I don't know, you know. And people see different things in it, and it's a mystery to myself as well. But that I think is just a more higher level of consciousness in terms of obliterating the letter structure. So that's a higher plane of wild style. Not that it's higher in terms of like, levels, but it's just more of a spiritual aspect, unconscious movement, because wild style is very cerebral. You're kind of connecting these dots, you're basically creating like a maze, right? So it is cerebral. And also that is cerebral in terms of like, how you're going to put all this together and weave it in. But, with mine, I just like let all that go and there's no plan. I just let the hands fly.
So what do you find, like how much, because you've done this, many, many times now, how much is new typically in a painting?
Everything, it all depends on everything. There's so many aspects to it, because I also do a lot of layers in a lot of my work. So I call it layers of consciousness, like where, we all have layers, right? And, life is complex, where we have different kind of, layers. And I see it in graffiti, right? You see layers and layers of walls, one piece going over the other. When we've taken chunks off of the Belmont Tunnel that were like that, just of spray paint layers of, and then you could see it like, just like, the layers. And,
that's cool.
And I always, kind of like pushing and pulling my work. And like I said, every job is different, man. Every piece is different. It's based on time, where I'm at, how I'm feeling. So there's different variables that dictate what's actually going to happen. So every one is basically not a replication. Some people do the same tag everywhere, and it's like the most simplest form of branding, right?
Tag is
of course.
Very memorable.
Right.
I mean, it's like, Nike or whatever, they have this simple thing that's ubiquitous.
Sure.
Right. And that's the essence of a tag, to kind of see it. But, I believe my style is like, there's definitive things you see, but then there's also mysterious things you see.
I mean, it's funny you say that, because like, in the branding world, they spend millions of dollars to develop their style guide and try to make sure that, the Nike logo and the word looks the same everywhere you put it, right? I think the flip side of that is, in this world where there's so much noise everywhere, that when you see something over and over, it kind of like, you stop paying attention to it. Whereas like, something different or unique is going to catch your eye and maybe grab a little bit more of your attention. Maybe brands need to think that way a little bit.
Yeah.
Switch up, put the swoosh backwards.
Yeah.
And you'll notice there's something different about it,
I mean, I think it's just so simple and universal that it's just basically getting that simple logo to basically, sit in your subconscious, and then everything else comes back to getting to go to buy that product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
I guess the question is, at what point does your brain stop paying attention? Because it's not, because it's not disrupting your flow.
Yeah, but I mean, some brands are just like staples, where it's just, McDonald's is there, this brand is there, and it's just, they're staples. But I guess that's just human nature, right?
Sure.
And very general. But my approach to art is a little unconventional.
Yeah. What are you trying to do next? What's the goal? Do you like set goals and go after them, or is it more just like just flow?
I'm kind of manifesting right now because I notice like the more like I just focus on what's in front of me, I'm more successful in terms of I just worry about putting out good stuff and let everything else fall in place when it's gonna fall in place.
Yeah. I read that your art embodies LA. So I think one of the articles about you said that. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot because I think just because of my roots in Los Angeles in terms of just growing up being an original and I would say the first wave of this actual graffiti movement, you know what I mean? Because the neighborhoods pre-existed, this even the East Coast movement, right?
Sure.
That goes back to maybe the 20s, early LA, when there's stagecoaches and stuff.
Yeah.
These little enclaves had graffiti, but but taking some of that and infusing it, that's what my crew did. We kind of we came from these neighborhoods, Boyle Heights, Pico Union, the Rampart area, just different, and then we kind of had these backgrounds, or we coexisted with them with a lot of these backgrounds, and our style kind of was a hybrid of both. So we were able to infuse the style, and I think that's kind of the trademark of my crew. But I always kept that style within that, and I think that's what makes LA unique. Is this culture that didn't exist on the East Coast was there, but it actually merged with a lot of the artistic movement that they were having on the East Coast, or they were doing fill-ins, bubble letters, complex pieces, and stuff like that. But also, with our, influence of like the Old English forms, the block letters, the blockazos, and you kind of meld that together, and that's kind of what LA embodies. And I think my style is representative of that, that infusion.
I got a question. Who do you think as a graffiti artist has influenced you the most? Not, and that's a tough question. Every time we ask it, people get a little caught up because they don't, but who do you think's influenced you the most? And not your style, but just maybe even you wanting to do graffiti, like, what I mean?
When I was a kid, from a technical standpoint, like Soon came from New York, so his stuff was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
We saw him at Pan Pacific, I think I met him in '84. And, there were these larger than life characters, him and Legit, and it was just like, whoa, but they're, the can control was definitely like on another level. And then my friend Rick One Crime, he had a big influence on me. He was really fast with the can, he painted really fast, really great artist. These guys were like heroes to me.
What about now? When's the last time you saw like a youngster or somebody doing something that made you stop and think?
Oh man, like now, like I'm just thinking about how like saturated everything is. We see people all over the place doing everything, so it's kind of hard for me to kind of pinpoint. And
no, I'm sure.
And I think now it's more like, I'm not really too worried about what's happening around me. I'm trying to really push myself, and like I said, it's more of fighting yourself, getting
it's
up,
an internal battle and internal pressing yourself on a regular basis.
Yeah,
it's more yourself than it is. Look, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I bet.
That is definitely a good point. Like back in the day, we looked to others for our influence and our style, and that was what pressed us. Now it's internal, as you become older and as things have changed.
Yeah, and kind of what you're talking about, right? That there's information everywhere. There's inspiration everywhere. You know?
It's pretty crazy.
That it's more about the keeping stuff out.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that too is just more like like there's like you pick up a phone and there's just a million posts, and how do you even you know,
Right.
even going to some of these, I'm getting off the subject, but you know, you go to some of these trade shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Agenda and stuff. You go, there's 1,000 booths, and it's just kind of like you walk
Right.
around and what sticks out, you know, and
For sure.
you know, and everybody's trying to do something that, you know, I'm going to build a fake block, or
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
do
yeah.
this, and then you
Yeah.
go, and it's hard to decipher what really, you
Totally.
know, catches, you know. And I'm sure, yeah, there's a lot of good people out there, you know,
Yeah.
but it's just now I feel like I'm in the sea of this. So, you know, I'll glance, but I won't look too hard because it's just like, you know, it's just, you know,
Distracting to a certain extent.
I got to work, you know, I got to do my thing.
So where do you find inspiration? I know you know, we were talking about music. You know, I think, you know, I saw an interview where you talked about the ocean,
Yeah.
and which I feel the same way. I have,
Yeah.
I try to look at the ocean whenever possible.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like lately, I've been, you know, a lot of studio time is I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like pretty cool because
What do you
it's,
listen to?
I listen to like Jocko podcast once in a while.
Okay.
Danielle Bohelli it's called History on Fire.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty good.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, and, Joe Rogan once in a while. You know, you know, I kind of pick what's kind of
Yeah.
cool, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Even there's some cool ones about crime and stuff like that. They're just mystery things in the dark. That's a
Yeah.
good one. I mean, so sometimes I just play stuff randomly,
Sure.
or even YouTube clips. But I kind of would, because I used to read a lot, not anymore. Now we got phones, but you know, I'll
hard
listen
to
to these
have
long term, you know, I guess what they call it, long form
Yeah.
podcasts, because you get more of it's not like a newsreel where it's you
Right.
know, real quick, but I'll listen to that and I get a lot of inspiration from, you know, like, you know, listen to Jocko's like a Navy SEAL, so you know, you
that's
think
cool.
you're having it, you know, but he reviews a lot of historical books on war and, you know, just some of the atrocities that happened, and the way people weathered those storms and stuff like that. And, you know, in life in general, just kind of like, wow, man, you know,
Sure.
we're fortunate to be where we're at now. We're not here in World War II or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
getting bombed or, you know, we're very fortunate to be where we're at, you know, and you know, things like that kind of inspire me and make me grateful for, you know, the blessings that you know, that the era we're in right now.
I mean, I think that's important. Obviously, there's so much bad news everywhere you look.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, industries
Yeah.
built on keeping us worried about,
Yeah.
you know, what's around the corner, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just saw a talk a couple weeks ago about, you know, by most every measure, the world is better now than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's problems and, you know, not everything's perfect, but in general, life keeps getting better for more and more people.
Yeah.
And yet, like, we don't always believe that. Like, we focus on the bad things,
Yeah.
which then I think that makes it hard to go out and be creative, right? And go
Yeah.
want to.
But I think too, it's like, you know, when I look at things like, you know, like now, like, I think it gets easier, people get softer.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Oh, you offended me, or you did
Right,
this.
right,
I'm
right.
gonna, you know what I mean? I mean, like,
Man.
you know, like I've, you know, by looking at history and some of the atrocities that happened, like the Khmer Rouge and
Yeah.
stuff like that, I'm like, wow, man, you
Yeah.
know, it's just like
People
we have
went
it
through
so
some shit,
easy.
for sure.
And you know, and you know, every generation is gonna say, you know, probably when we're kids, like, you guys take a bus, we walk barefooted
Of
5
course.
miles to school every morning. You know what I mean? Like, an old man will tell you that.
Definitely.
And then now we're like, you know, like, man, you guys got it easy. You guys just, we used to fight, you know, you guys
That's
just
right.
talk smack on the internet.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure, you know, the next generation is like, you know, my grandpa, he used to actually have to type the words
Right.
in, like it was called texting. They'd have to sit there and type, and
For sure.
you know, and they'd lose their phones and their
Right.
keys because everything's gonna be automated.
Well, yeah, and it's going to
Course.
even when you
Right.
can think about shit and it happens.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
rather
So-
than even having to
Yeah,
just
yeah.
say it.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's gonna get so, you know, technical. It'll be a hologram. You know,
For sure.
Technology is gonna be there. It might even be here in 5 years. Who knows?
Right.
But I mean, there's gonna be things where they're gonna, that's old school. You know, they
Yeah,
had to,
always.
You know, and then
Always.
you know, that the next generation's gonna be like, what? They had
People
cars.
actually used to leave the house.
I know, yeah.
They just have to go somewhere
Right.
to eat McDonald's.
sure.
Now you just say it and it pops into this little window in our house here.
They actually had to go to the gym and work out. Like,
That's right.
actually have to struggle to run up a
Yeah.
hill. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
now you got
Now
this
you just
little,
hit your app
this
to,
little
like-
thing, and it's just like, boom, you get this
Yeah,
infusion
go
or
to sleep
whatever.
and you work out.
crazy.
Crazy shit.
That's crazy.
Who knows? I mean, I shouldn't say.
Lightning round.
All right, I have a lightning round. A couple questions I want to ask you before we get out of
Real
here.
quick ones.
What's your favorite city to travel to?
Oh, shoot. City. New York.
Yeah, New York never stops.
Yeah. It's a machine.
Who's your favorite DJ?
Rentmatic.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good one. I know you say you don't read so much anymore, but what's the last great book you read?
Last great book I read. 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't read that one yet. It's on my list, but I like Robert Greene.
Yeah.
What movie do you think you've seen the most in your life?
Cliche, but Scarface.
Oh yeah.
It's okay, man.
Tell me one decision that changed your life forever.
What decision? I guess to go back to school, to re-educate, to go to school.
When
to
was
college. Later in life, I mean, like, I might have graduated like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Was that a tough choice?
Yeah, starting from the bottom was, at an
Yeah.
older age, it was.
Yeah.
But to finish it, it was very, I think it changed, the way my outlook and perspective. And
I think that's great, man. I think about that sometimes, and I actually was just listening to a talk about how the world's living longer, and how like this idea that we go to school until we're like 25 and then we're done for life, like that's probably not going to last.
Yeah.
When you're living to 100,
Yeah.
there's going to be more shit to learn along the
Yeah,
way.
of course. And
Yeah.
as things change,
Yeah,
as technology updates, industries shift.
absolutely,
What you learn when you're 18 and by the time you turn 35 no longer applies anymore.
for sure. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. No, that's good. So, okay, complete this sentence for yourself. I don't have talent. I have blank.
Hard work ethic.
It's good. Who would you be most excited to learn appreciates your work?
Shoot. I don't know, man. That was a hard one. Bruce Lee, if he was alive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, that'd be major.
For sure. Cool. How does everybody find you online? Where should they follow you?
Probably most instantaneous is Instagram because it's
Yeah.
visual and a little bit of words, and that's pretty much one-stop shop. You got live and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm more visual, so I don't really do Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. So
Yeah. So, well, thanks, man. We'll be watching.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
come back
guys.
anytime. You want to promote something, whatever. We'd love to
Thank you, guys.
always have you back.
Great. Thank you.
Great stuff. Sir?
That's it.
Thank
If
you
wanna
as
find
always.
DEFER online, it's at DEFERK, the number 2, the letter S. DEFER K2S.
And Guerilla One.
GUERILLAONE.
Nice. And we'll watch. We're going to come. Maybe you should just come in by yourself one time when you relaunch Guerilla One, and let's talk about that.
I never like.
That's fine.
I'll say I'm.
I know you'll bring-
I'll bring a special guest.
That's even better. My man. Yo, that was DEFER on Rebel Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Make sure you leave us a comment on Twitter, on Facebook. It's all at Rebel Radio Net. You can leave us a review on iTunes, and most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio. Peace.